So what do you think about the entire mess surrounding Sherrod's speech and the quotes that were taken out of context? Here to talk about what you're talking about is our power panel, journalists Judy Licht and Lynn and advertising executive Charlotte Ann Nelson. Welcome, ladies. So, Judy, we have a sort of a teachable moment here, don't we? What's the lesson?
The lesson is there are more knee-jerks here than in A Christmas with the Rockettes. I have never seen...
You worked with that for a while.
I was working in the cab all the way over. No, I mean, you know, this was a series of political correctness on political correctness on political correctness. Consequently, everybody made a mistake. It took one guy distorting a tape, an ideologue, possibly, and then everyone else immediately reacted without looking and seeing what the story was. When you have the NAACP and Glenn Beck on the same side, you've really got something. I mean, even he defended this poor woman against what happened. I mean, the administration looked terribly foolish. The NAACP got suckered into this just as well.
And what about Fox News Network? They aired it. They made it a story, a very incendiary story.
But the other networks picked it up as well.
So did every website and talk radio, and that's the problem when you have a 24/7 news cycle. These stories ignite and they spread like wildfire, and nobody checks facts. And that ended up with one woman, this wonderful woman, being fired, and I don't think that's so correct.
The people who didn't check the facts, who counted, really were in the White House.
Well, wait a minute.
In the administration.
Who first aired this story as a news story, a factual story, when it was a part of the story?
In this stage of the internet, all this stuff happens. It's incumbent upon the boss, Vilsack, to check the facts, to at least find out the context. And this firing happened very rapidly.
But isn't it incumbent upon a news network to check the facts before they air it?
Yes,
and air it as a real story?
Lynn, if you look at the story carefully, it was a viral video that created the reaction, not that it had was on the news as well. It was a viral. In this age of the internet, things go viral and people react to that. They're not reacting to the Fox News.
But it was picked up by a news organization as a real news story.
But it didn't take long for the news organizations to find the context. Did it, Charlotte Ann? I mean, they found the rest of the speech in bits and pieces that revealed what she was really saying.
That's true, but even so, let's call this what this is, which is a giant success for a conservative blogger who intended to happen exactly what has happened, which is the agenda shifted off a major piece of financial regulation that was signed today, a major success for the Obama administration that we're not talking about because we're talking about an overblown non-issue. This was entirely the point. Move the agenda to a complicated, extremely brittle argument and keep it off the successes.
Charlotte, what are you smoking? I mean, what has one thing got to do with another?
She's right, though. There are stories like this that come out every week on these networks. And, you know, talk about the story with the two guys at the polling booths who were Black Panthers. They weren't menacing anybody. They weren't intimidating voters. This was a black polling place. And that same network and that same person says that they shouldn't have been prosecuted, and then they dropped the ball. This administration dropped the ball. Well, no, they didn't. I mean, and you've got Acorn, you've got story after story, Van Jones. This is wrong, and that's why people are overreacting.
But you're equating. I think there's a real issue here, and we've started to talk about it last time we were here. There is an issue of racism, and there's racism on there's racism on everyone's part. And what you're really talking about is people are really trying to be politically correct. Consequently, everyone's walking on eggshells. Consequently, everybody is blaming everyone else.
I don't think the blogger who started this is trying to be politically correct. In fact, he went on the air yesterday and said that the reason he did this was to bring down the NAACP because the week before they had outed the Tea Party as being some members being racist. So we have a cycle of blame in the name of race, which is totally wrong because now you've got people whose tempers are flaring, like right here, and whose feelings are being hurt, and this could start something that erupts into something violent. And I think that's what we all fear. If you lived through the 60s.
But I did live through the 60s, unfortunately. I'm embarrassed to admit. and I'm here to surviving it.
But is this the direction you want us to go in? I don't think so.
I think it's all very well and good to say there's a direction we should be going in. We all know there's that direction. But the reality is that people don't change that much, and we're expecting people to be perfect, and they're not.
But do you think this reflects anything that people feels in the general populace. I see that this is a problem in the media. I see that there may be elements of the Tea Party, but I'm not sure that this discussion that's whipped up reflects the way in which my friends talk about race, in which it's discussed in the workplace, in professional circles.
But that's generational also. You know, Judy and I, as we're saying, 60s, 70s, and covered riots right here in Newark. And you know, this is a part of our culture that we don't want to revisit. You're lucky, you know, your generation and people younger than you don't have those issues.
Well,
we have
to abandon the topic here, but one thing is certain. If anybody who bothered to listen to the entire 45 minutes of what that woman had to say, what Shirley Sherrod had to say, came away with the sense that this is a woman who went through a transformative moment.
Absolutely.
Who grew up in a very difficult time, in a very difficult era, and who was confronted with her own racism, right, and overcame it.
Well,
so this thing seems particularly unfair. We have to go now. We're out of time. I'm sorry. I know you all want about this next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chuck.